what are we doing here? Okay, I think before we start, we want to just make sure everybody understands what we're doing here. Our end goal is to, at least for everybody in this class, to be able to open any book on the shelf, Sefer Kodesh, whether it be the Rambam, Mishnah Brura, Gemara, Chumash with Rashi, Midrash Rabbah, whatever the case may be, open up and be able to get something out of it on their own or with a friend, but not having to sit in and not having to use a translation or sit and listen to somebody explain to them.
So you teach us Aramaic as well?
If we get to that, we'll get to that. Yes, that's definitely on the roadmap. We'll see if we.
2-3 years down the line, yeah.
Yeah. At least a year down the line. Yeah.
Could this be considered something like not a replacement for yeshiva, but like sort of like a really big achana yeshiva?
Yeah, it's like a catch-up, right? It could be like a mechina, like a preparatory course for someone who wants to start learning.
But it's not a replacement for yeshiva.
It's not going to be that intense.
Okay.
Again, there's going to be room for everyone to take things at their own pace in terms of what you do at home, and we're going to go at the pace that's comfortable for most people. I don't have an agenda here or any particular expectations about how quickly we're going to go or what level everyone's starting at. So we'll just see and we'll feel along the way, and we'll figure
You
it
give
out.
out smicha at the end?
Yes. Absolutely. 20 years down the line. First I have to get it myself. Okay, so what are we going to be learning? The way that I conceptualize things is that we need to attack 3 different areas. One is Hebrew language, and that includes a lot of different things. I wrote up here on the board. We need vocabulary, we need awareness of grammar, so that when we meet a word, we understand the various inflections and usages, that we don't just assume it always means the same thing or get confused about the meaning. We don't need to know grammar 100%, but we need to have an understanding, especially since we'll see there's some fluidity in the different evolutions of the language, and gain a sensitivity to different evolutionary versions of the language, whether it's the biblical Hebrew, whether it's Talmudic, Mishnaic Hebrew, whether it's later generations.
Aramaic.
Things change. There's going to be Aramaic thrown in there. When we get to learning Gemara, we're also going to have to open our vocabulary. And absolutely. So that's one thing is Hebrew, working on our literary Hebrew, not spoken. We're not going to be speaking Hebrew, and we're not going to be focusing on spoken Hebrew. Second category is concepts. If I open up a Mishnah Brura, even though I might know Hebrew very well, there'll be all sorts of references in there to other things, and I want to understand what's going on. So concepts, how does Torah Sheba'al Peh work? I should say, I forgot to say, this whole learning course is focusing on Torah Sheba'al Peh, and specifically the halacha part of it. Meaning, if we look at Torah Sheba'al Peh, there's a midrash, the Zohar, there's the what's called the Agadah, the Agadic part of Torah Sheba'al Peh, and there's the halachic part. So we're focusing on halacha, which means not just halacha books. It starts with the Mishnah and midrashei halacha, and it goes through halacha books, the Rambam, Shulchan Aruch, everything comes before, after, and around that. And the Gemara is also a halachic work, even though it's not always perceived that way. So that's going to be our focus. So we need to learn a lot of concepts. In order to learn concepts, we're going to just be kind of reading through various books that can give us an overview of, yeah.
How long did you plan, just a general question, how long did you plan for these lessons to be?
Each lesson?
Yeah. Each time we meet, like how long did you plan for it
An
to
hour
be?
to an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's Monday nights here in person, and on Zoom half an hour. It'll be less of a lesson. It'll be more like a question and answer, discussions and stuff like that.
Okay.
That's concepts, so that's going to be a big thing. And once we have a certain level of background with concepts, then we can start tackling text. And that's the third category, the third fork of the trident, so to speak. And that is textual skills, understanding how to navigate text, and that's going to be specific to each kind of work that we're going to be meeting. If it's understanding the Mishnah, if it's understanding Shulchan Aruch, it's understanding the Achronim, which are commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch. It's going to be different. If it's Gemara and the Rishonim talking about the Gemara, it's going to be different. So each kind of class of halachic work is going to require its own process of familiarity and textual skills. Questions up to now?
Any chance of starting at 8 instead of 9?
Can I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't either. 8:30 the earliest would be for me.
Yeah, I might be able to do 8:30, but 9 is only more comfortable.
I'm concerned about falling asleep.
Yeah.
There's some coffee.
Maybe
You can have
coffee,
some water if
yeah.
you like.
I might try and get it 30 if you want. I mean, I would also struggle a bit potentially, but it should be okay normally.
I would do a quarter to 9. I could do a quarter to 9. So,
Quarter to 9, yeah, then if you're on 50 minutes to 10.
yeah. I thought we could try from next week quarter to 9.
Okay. We're 9 until 10.
Okay, let's talk about homework before we get started. In order to work on our Hebrew, I think the best thing to do is to read. Reading comprehension, and over the course of the next, before we finish today, I'm going to give some suggestions of what to read, but basically everyone should be reading 10 to 15 minutes a day on average. You sit down, you have a book that doesn't have any translation in it, and you try to work through it. And at first, it'll go very slowly. And after a few weeks, you'll probably start to feel that the pace is picking up. There's more, the words are repeating, more familiarity, etc. You're gonna have to probably work with a dictionary at first, in most cases. There'll be words that are familiar, or phrases, or tenses. That's what the notebook is for. The notebook is also for taking notes here during the class, if that helps anybody. I'm not enforcing anything. There are no tests, there are no exams or anything. But while reading, if anything is at all less than 100% clear, the meaning, the usage, the grammatical tense, whatever it may be, write it down. And then in our Zoom session, if it's something urgent, just throw it on the WhatsApp group and I'll answer. If it's not urgent, meaning I can't understand the rest of the text without it, that's urgent, then we'll bring it up in our Zoom sessions, and then everybody will be able to hear it, the explanation and the elaboration on the subject.
And when you say any book, it could be Harry Potter, it could be, or you're looking for...
Again,
Probably Sefer Kadosh.
we'll get, at the end, we'll talk a few minutes about what I think are some suggestions. I'll try to come up with more suggestions during the week.
Harry Potter is a Sefer Kadosh, right?
But since we're focusing on halachic Hebrew, it's better to have something that's not in a modern Hebrew, since it's going to be different. There's going to be a lot of differences.
What would be a good example, like a Kitzur Shulchan Aruch? Something like that.
Shulchan Aruch is too technical.
Okay.
It's hard to just read through it. It's going to be very frustrating to just read through it. I was
PRK and
thinking...
what?
Mishnah Brewer? Or...
No. Not Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is something that we're going to tackle, in like a year. I was thinking like there's a book called Sefer Hachinuch, which is basically a book that was formulated based on midrashim, but it just tells it as a story, one continuous story, all of Sefer Bereshit and Shmot, and it's just a compelling story, the way it's told. Sipurei Masiot of Rabbi Nachman is another option.
Sipora ma?
Sipurei Masiot.
But in Hebrew, not Yiddish.
In Hebrew, not in Yiddish. It's translated, but it's not a modern Hebrew. It's more of the kind of Hebrew that we're going to be seeing. Or Shai Agnon. Shai Agnon, I think, is also a good option. I don't know if you can get his stories with Nikud. I haven't seen that. I don't know where you would get such a thing, but maybe it's available somewhere if people need Nikud. I think I recommend reading with Nikud, at least for the first couple months, in order not to get mixed up and misinterpret things, etc. Those are my suggestions just off the top of my head. I'll try to come up with more.
What was the second book called?
Next few days. Sipurei Masiot of Rabbi Nachman.
Sipurei what?
That you can find online. Sipurei Masiot Mishanim Kadmoniot. The full name.
You can put these on the group, can't you? You can share them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I know I won't do.
You
You should remember.
Also, I don't have a watch and my phone is recording, so somebody just like give me a heads up when we get to 10 o'clock. Okay, I'm going to erase the board. If anybody needs to take a picture of it, wants to for some reason, you may. It's just a kind of suggestion. It's not a real syllabus. Anyway, eraser works.
I'll bring some alcohol spray so we can clean the board.
Because I think with alcohol would make it better.
No, it's
More interesting lessons.
it's grain alcohol. Like people know.
It says whiskey.
No, it's moonshine, 96%. I don't drink it.
Joking.
I don't drink it because it's not kosher. I buy it from the Ukrainian store. It's only for cleaning.
Probably kosher.
I mean, it doesn't have an extra at all.
Right.
It literally just says spirit.
Yeah,
And that's it.
That's good. Sounds all right. I don't know. I think rubbing alcohol also works now.
That's 70%.
Yeah.
This is 96%. It's
Yeah.
even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hello. Hi.
It's good to be back.
All right. So the first. Before we start, the most important thing that you all can do for yourselves is to ask questions. That is the most important thing. Eina Baishan Lamed, we learn in Pirkei Avot, right? Someone who is afraid to ask will not learn, and that is the absolute most important thing. Anything you're not 100% clear on, just ask. Most chances are somebody else also had the same question, and even if they didn't, you're not wasting anybody's time. That's what we're here for. So please ask lots of questions. We're going to start Sefer Hachinuch. Sefer Hachinuch was written in Spain during the Golden Age of Spain, 13th century approximately. I'm pretty sure about 13th century actually. By an unknown student of the Rashba. If you look, a lot of them say it was written by the Rabbi Aaron HaKohen. That's been proven to be incorrect. We don't know who wrote it, but we do know from comparison with other texts that he was a student of the Rashba. I mean, he says outright that he's a student of the Rashba, but with comparison with other things that the Ra'ah wrote, he doesn't refer to the Rashba the same way. It's been.
So, is this an example of something like pseudepigraphy? Like,
No, he didn't put his name in it.
okay. Or the name of someone else.
He didn't put anybody's name in it. And,
Okay.
and for generations, people have been trying to figure out who wrote this. So it's just assume that it's a student of the Rashba who didn't write anything else, so we don't know his name.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't sign the letter at the beginning.
No. The way that he introduced the book is that he wrote it for his son. as an explanation for his son in order to follow the Torah properly. And it's basically a Sefer Mitzvot. So there are a number of Sefer Mitzvot that try to tally up the 613 commandments and explain what each one is, because it's not obvious. If you go through the Torah, it's not obvious how you get to 613. You can get to more, you can get to less. Depends on what you count. The most famous Sefer Mitzvot, of course, is the Rambam's, which he prefaced with 10 principles of how to count the mitzvahs. So it's very clear how the Rambam got to 613. He spells everything out, what his method was. We have other accounts from Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon, who wrote it as a poem. That's probably the hardest one to learn. There also is, there are other...
Which rabbi?
Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon.
How do I spell that?
Sadia is Samech Ayin Daled Yud Hey.
Tzadi Sameh.
No, not Tzadi. Samech Ayin.
Ayin.
Let me write it down.
Sadion. Sadia.
Let me just write it down.
Sadia Gaon. Okay.
Yeah, that's Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon. Gaon refers to the Rosh Yeshiva in Bavel. Rosh Yeshiva in Babylon. Of the big yeshivas, there were 3 during the primary period of the Geonim. This is from the Geonim is a period of history that's about 600 to 950, or 600 to 1,000 approximately, when Babylon was the center of world Jewry in terms both in population and in erudition and the
609.50. What's that in the Jewish year?
What's that in the Jewish year? That's a good question. I don't know my Jewish years like that.
Okay. This is curious.
Yeah. So the Geonim, if you see Geonim, that's referring to a Rosh Yeshiva. In Bavel, notably, there was Surah, Neharda, and Pumbedita. Those were the notable yeshivas. One of, I think, Pumbedita burned down at some point, and then they formed yeshiva in Surah to replace it. We're going to be covering a lot of Jewish history in order to understand how the evolution of Torah Shabbat Peh works and halacha. There's going to be a lot of Jewish history. So that's just kind of a side note about the Geonim, who's Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon. We're going to run into him later in a number of different contexts. So why did I choose Sefer Hachinuch out of all the different Sefer Mitzvot? Because it's the most concise. It's just easiest to read, to get through. It just lays everything out very clearly. Here's the mitzvah. This is what it is. This is where it comes from, and these are the conditions under which it applies. That's basically how it works. And often, sometimes he also adds in a little bit more, what I would call agadic content, meaning what would be called ta'ameh mitzvot, the reasoning behind it, something that we don't know for sure. We don't know what Hashem is thinking when He gives the mitzvah, but we can try to piece together what makes sense to us. So, Sefer Chinuch is in order of the parashot, the way that the mitzvahs appear in the Torah. The first one is mitzvat priyah urviyah. Okay, we're going to be reading in the Hebrew. If you have English, please refrain from referring to it. If there's a word you don't know, just raise your hand or shout out. Okay? So here we are, Sefer Chinuch, Parashat Bereshit, Mitzvah Aleph. First mitzvah, Mitzvah Priyah Urviyah. Priyah Urviyah, these are words that may sound familiar, but they are related to words that you know. Priyah is from the word pri, fruit, to be fruitful, and Urviyah is from the word rov, harbe, right? Something that's a lot, that's a multitude.
Making it a lot. Making it
So right,
a lot from
making
something
fruitful
small.
To be
and
fruitful,
making
to be
it-
fruitful, to be fruitful, multiply.
Vuvu.
So fruitful is usually multiply is just quantity and fruitful is quality.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, yes, you have to have quantity and quality, as we'll see. Bereshit, meaning the parasha Bereshit, yesh b'mitzvah mitzvat aseh achat. V'hi mitzvat priya reviya, shene'emar, right? As it says, we always need the source. Vayivarech otam Elohim vayomer lehem Elohim, piru uvu.
That's Adam and Chava.
That is the context, yes. So this is the pasuk, uvu. This is where it comes from. This is the first mitzvah we'll often see if we look at sources relating to the mitzvah, that it's part of its significance is that it is the first mitzvah and that it is universal in that Adam Rishon was commanded. And it wasn't given to us as the Jewish people, it was given to Adam Rishon. So it's something that encompasses all of humanity.
So why do we say the first mitzvah given to the Jewish people was the mitzvah of counting the months of the year, declaring, and yet here we are in Bereshit.
Because it wasn't given to the Jewish people.
Jewish people weren't created yet.
It was given to humanity.
Humanity includes the Jewish people inherently, but the Jewish people weren't created yet. They really became an Am in Mitzrayim.
Okay. I'll get that. I'll take it.
Okay. Everybody clear so far? Mishoshei mitzvazo. What are the shorashim, the roots? What is what stands behind it? Kidei she'haolam miyushav. So that the world will be populated. Miyushav, like we say, yishuv. Right? I come from a yishuv in the Golan, so same word.
It's also interesting, it's like sitting, like to settle in a place. But it's
Right.
also like sitting down. It's like you really settle down.
Right. It's the exact same thing. Exact same. Same meaning. Shashem Baruch Hu Chafetz B'Yeshiva. Why does Hashem give us this mitzvah? Because He wants the world to be settled by humans. This is an interesting concept.
So what's the word chafetz mean?
Chafetz means desires.
And also
Like we have-
possession.
Chifetz, okay, here, we're now going to get grammar. At every opportunity, I'm going to take every opportunity to teach you grammar and history and everything, because all part
מעולה.
of,
פשוט מעולה.
it's all part of the equation. Actually, very nice if I get it. Okay, so we have two words, same shoresh. Shout out if you don't know what the shoresh in Hebrew is. We have chafetz and we have chefetz. This is a verb. This is a noun. Okay, this means an object is in the object of my desire. Right? This means to desire. Lachpotz is what we call Shem HaPoal, the definitive. Chafetz, ani chafetz, at chafetza, anachnu chafetzim. This is an example of a word that does not follow the rules of Hebrew grammar as taught to you in Ulpan. Okay? In Ulpan we learned that we have 7 binyanim. If you don't know what that is, don't worry. We'll come back to it. And the first one is called binyan pal. It's like binyan kal or pal. For instance, halach, right? We have ani olech, right? Ani halachti, okay? So ani holech, ani halachti, we understand the structure. There's a vav, cholam, and then a tzere, o-a. What is this? A-a. We have other words like this that follow this pattern. They're also in the same binyan, but they don't follow the same pattern for no apparent reason. There are all sorts of words that have a clear reason why they follow a different pattern, even though they're in the same binyan. For instance, they have a vowel, they have a vav or a yud in the middle or something like that. But this does not have any strange consonants in it. And yet, it follows that pattern. Other examples are gadel.
Nezek as well.
Nezek is not a verb.
לא, כאילו נזה, inzik, but nezek is the gerund.
But it's not binyan
okay.
kal. So these are words that we have that have survived to modern Hebrew in their form gadel, lamed, yashen, which is one that's been bastardized by Israelis. Oftentimes they say hu yoshen. That's not correct. Hu yashen. For some reason,
Ashkenazi
the
guy.
vav became a kamatz and stayed that way. Okay, we don't exactly. I don't have any explanation for it. There might be some linguist out there who thinks they know why. I don't know why, but just something to know.
So it means desire or yeah, okay. Saying it's desirable.
In this case,
Yeah, but
chafetz. It's the verb.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chafetz Chaim.
Right. Chafetz Chaim is from the pasuk in Tehillim. Miza ish achafetz chayim. Right. Who is the man that desires life?
You're
What's
outside the frame.
that?
You're outside of the frame.
I'm out of the frame. That's fine. It's not all about me.
But just wanted to tell you.
Right, that's exactly. Absolutely. That's good to make those connections. So
You can
that's the
remember.
right, the Chafetz Chaim is actually not the name of the person, the name of the book that he's most famous for. So that's why we.
Of course I do.
Oh, dear.
You're out of the frame anyway. I don't want to they fly towards you to give you a net. Sorry.
Okay. Good luck with getting that thing straight.
There you go.
Take some drama milk.
Right, the Chafetz Chaim, mihu aish Chafetz Chaim, nitzol leshon chamira. That's the rest of the pasuk talks about not speaking lashon hara. That's where it comes from. So that's why he's saying you want life. A person who desires life doesn't speak lashon hara, and that's why he chose
And
that
that's
name
it.
for the book.
I see.
Awesome. Okay, so the reason that Hashem gives us a mitzvah to have children, Hashem Baruch Hu chafetz b'yishuvo. He wants the world to be populated. Ki dichtiv lo tov b'ra'a l'shevet yitzara. This is interesting.
Can I just
Yes.
ask a question? If I'm being technical here, it doesn't say he wants the word popular, he wants the word to be settled. But in the same way that the world can be settled by 10 people, doesn't use it, it's not, we don't, I mean, maybe we'll get to the mid, but this doesn't say populous, this just says that people will settle in the world and will appreciate it. But originally, Adam and Eve were going to do that, and that was it, good enough. So he wasn't necessarily lots and lots of people, he just wanted people who would appreciate it. Even now, the Jewish people, his chosen people, we're a tiny percentage of the population.
It's a valid point. It's a good question. Well, no, this is not a mitzvah just for us.
No, I'm saying, yeah, okay. But the word yeshuv doesn't mean populate, it just means to settle. It's like different.
It's like to tame the world, right? We could have a long discussion. Maybe we'll have more of a discussion about what does that mean, and what is the intent. But the short answer is that Adam and Chava were in a kind of nuclear situation where the whole world was concentrated in Eden, right? And then once they were kicked out, it became a whole new game. It was starting over. I think kind of started over in a different context and different new conditions, and all of a sudden became the whole world. Also, Adam and Chava weren't necessarily in a physical place, because after they were kicked out, it says they were given physical bodies.
But the word yeshuv doesn't necessarily mean populous, and that's why I'm challenging that.
Okay.
You translate yeshuv as populous, population, and I'm saying it means settled. That's a word.
It does mean settled, but you can't settle the whole world with 10 people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't necessarily mean that the whole world is supposed to be settled, but the world as a whole is supposed to be settled.
Mm-hmm. And as there's more settlements, it raises God's happiness of the world. So, I mean, it implies that you should procreate. It really is
He wants everyone settled here. it's against the people settling in America.
Yeah, because
Again,
it's mitzvah
this
for
is-
everyone.
It's for everyone. Right? Okay, so
So-
now, yes.
I just want, I think I was mixed up of where to start in the
Okay.
book. So you're reading from what I have here, or are you reading something else? But,
Nice.
That
So,
was-
Chinuch Aleph. We're talking about the first mitzvah.
all right.
That
I
was
skipped the introduction.
So that's what I want. I was looking at the listing of all the mitzvot. So you want us to start
Actually, yeah, I'm in the body of
Sefer
the book.
Rishit.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I'm.
Yeah,
I was in the wrong spot.
Okay.
So do I remember I don't
All right, sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Kedichtiv. Now the Sefer Hachinuch brings a pasuk that's not even from the Torah in order to explain the Torah. Interestingly
Is
enough.
dictative Hebrew? Sort of,
Good question.
yeah, so I know what it means, but I don't know where it comes from.
It's actually Aramaic.
Yeah, okay, it's my yeah.
It's very close to Hebrew. It's a confusing one because it has my eraser.
There's two prepositions.
And why is
Exactly.
he using Aramaic here?
This is the
And
way.
then why one word Aramaic between the
Why not kakatuv?
yeah?
Right. That's a valid point. And this is the kind of jumbled language of halacha, because halacha starts with the Mishnah and the Talmud, and all the generations afterwards are starting with the Talmud, and it's in Aramaic, and that's the way it speaks.
Is this
It
like you?
just
It's like
picked
you
up.
and I saying we went to shul.
It's very similar.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking language about you doing English, but
So
it's right again.
ke dichtiv. These are all separate words. So ke as asher. D is asher. It's she, right? Kemo she katuv. It's kemo she katuv, but it's all in one word, and that's why it's kind of hard to parse.
And what's the two prepositions? Like kede. What?
So-
Why not dichtiv? What?
Ke is kemo,
Like,
Okay.
and de is she.
Oh, okay.
Aramaic. It says kmo she katuv.
So like as it is written. Alright.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. As a side note, interestingly, he uses shenemar, as it is said, for something that's written in the Torah, and kedichtiv for something that is written in Navi. Whereas in other places we see it the other way around. For instance, on Rosh Hashanah we have in Musaf Malchuyot Zichronot Shofarot, and there we say kakatuv batoratecha only for things that are in the Torah. Everything that's from Navi, in Musaf Rosh Hashanah we say shene'amar, v'ne'amar. We say v'ne'amar, right? That's for everything that's from Navi. Navi is considered to be said when compared to the Torah, which is written, because the Torah was given to us written, and the Navi are the words in the Nevi'im that were written down. So the Navi is actually a kind of oral Torah when compared to the Torah itself. And here Sefer Hachinuch has gotten it the other way around for whatever reason. I don't have an explanation for that, but it's just interesting to see that he flipped it.
Where was this written? This book?
In Spain. Probably Barcelona.
Oh, okay. You mentioned that, sorry.
So the pasuk here is from Yeshayahu, Lo tov b'ra'a lashevet yetzara. Not for tohu, we know the word tohu from tovavo, from the very beginning of Bereshit. So not for barrenness, or I don't know how you translate tohu. Was the world created lashevet, right? To sit or to be settled, it was made.
I don't think there's any agreed upon translation that's official for tohu. Like it just
Right.
tohu vavo together is just chaotic, just chaos.
Yeah.
On its
What's
own,
word
there's
here,
really no
Torah,
individual
it's defined
translation.
here. Look at that too. In English, it says naught, as in nothing.
Mm-hmm. That's a fair translation in this context.
N-A-U-G-H-T.
Yeah, that's a fair take on והיא מצווה גדולה שבסיבתה מתקיימות כל המצוות בעולם. כי לבני אדם ניתנו ולא למלאכי השרת. Why is it so important? Because if there are not people, then the Torah has no application in the world. Right? In order to carry out and to keep the Torah, you need to have people in the world. So bringing more people into the world so that the Torah will continue to be fulfilled, that's what this is about. Dinei mitzvah. So here we have, we've the concepts that we've seen here. Yaakov.
Just the last sentence, it confuses me.
Okay.
כי לבני אדם ניתנו ולא למלאכי השרת. Why are we talking about מלאכי השרת here?
Because angels were created once. They don't need to procreate, right? They don't need to have babies. They don't
So it's just saying the mitzvah is on us and not on the Malachei Sharet.
No, the mitzvah is because the Torah is given to humans.
And not
Malachei. If the Torah was given to Malachei Sharet, there'd be no need for a mitzvah to make more angels because they never die.
Okay.
They're eternal.
Got it.
What's this word? Shebesabata?
Shebesibata.
The reason.
Shebesibata.
Right. It's, right. The reason. דיני המצווה, מתי חייב אדם לעסוק בה, וכמה בנים יהיו לו וייפטר, ומאיזה מצוות הוא פטור בעסקו בזו, ויתר פרטיה מבוארים ביבמות, פרק שישי ובברכות. So at the end of every mitzvah in Sefer Hachinuch, we're going to see he gives the conditions of the mitzvah. First of all, who am I getting to? Oh, sorry, I skipped. That's not yet. That's the next paragraph. He gives us the basic guidelines for how to do the mitzvah, right? What does it include? He doesn't get into too much detail. So here he's just giving us references. If you want to get into it, here's where you look. And since this was written in the 13th century, there was no halachic manual you could refer to. The only halachic manuals that were written before this book was published was the Rambam. If you want to say the in the Gaon, there's also a little bit in the Gaonim, the halachic manuals, but
also the problem with
he's just
halachic
referring
manuals
us back to the Gemara.
Yeah, also they're not particularly. They're not many of them around because they were handwritten at the time.
It's also a century before the Shulchan Aruch.
I'm saying it's more not just the fact there aren't many that have been produced. Those that have been produced a few number,
rare,
rare,
hard to get,
yeah.
right. Hard to come back. Absolutely. So the Dinei mitzvah, right? Dinei mitzvah, dinim, the laws of the mitzvah. Matai chayav adam la'asok ba, when, at what age, a person needs to attend to this mitzvah. B'chama banim yulo v'yipater, how many sons, which also in this context means children, not specifically sons. How many children you need to have in order to pater, to be exempted from doing the mitzvah any further. Ume'ezo mitzvot upatur me'isko bazo, and which other mitzvahs get preempted by this mitzvah.
And it's called like osek, an osek, it's on the work almost.
It's while you're involved with it, right? The isko is a verb, but esek shelo, right? While he is involved with it.
It's interesting. The A-Z is 2 words, whereas in modern Hebrew it's 1 word. Right?
Correct. It was originally 2 words. No, excuse me. It was originally 1 word, and then it became 2 words. Like in the Mishnah, we see it's 2 words. The Rambam uses it as 2 words, but in the Torah, it's 1 word. There are a number of things like that go back and forth, because modern Hebrew actually takes a little more from biblical Hebrew than from later versions of it. It's actually not continuous. It's Eliezer ben Yehuda looked to the Tanakh for grammar and structure and usage more than to later words.
What was the 2 words from?
Az.
Eze. Ah.
You
Wow.
say eze, it
Ken.
really is
Eyaze.
a ze. A meaning where.
Right. It's like Eyazot. You would say that as well. But in modern Hebrew, you say Ezo.
Yeah.
So it's totally not biblical. Awesome.
No, but it is biblical.
Oh, Ezo's in the Bible?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. You have in Kohelet, you have in Esther, you have it in the Chumash, I'm not sure. But you have them later, parts of the Tanakh. Okay, so that's the Dinei Mitzvah, and then the last bit that we see in every mitzvah is under what time and place does it, and who there are three axes of time, place, and persona. So where is it this mitzvah shaykh? Where does it apply? Noheged b'chol makom u'chol zman. So every place and every time. V'chayav adam
So
nishtadel
Naheged,
ba.
is that not Naheged? Isn't that also to drive? Is that?
It
In
is
modern
the same
Hebrew.
word.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
It means to drive.
Yeah.
It's right. The word
It's how you carry yourself.
that's mitnaheg.
Okay.
That's behavior. In modern Hebrew, in classical Hebrew, noheg, it's comes from the word minhag. So minhag noheg,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So where does it
Custom.
custom? Where does it apply? I actually refrain from trying to translate literally because it's misleading.
Right, and I
Trying
understand
to
that.
figure out what is the word in English that corresponds to the word in Hebrew. There isn't any.
Right.
And that's almost always the case. Even a simple word like makom,
Right, I'm not
it
accepting it as
doesn't correspond to all the usages of the word place anymore.
Right. And I understand that. What I'm trying to do is, I understand it's not a direct translation when I just give out one word, but it helps me form the concept if I have ways to describe it at least.
It's fine to translate,
Right.
but it's specific to the context, and if we're
It's
aware,
not perfect.
if we're aware that it means this, it corresponds to this word in English here, but not necessarily everywhere, then that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Just something to keep in mind. וחייב אדם להשתדל בה מי שהוא ראוי לה. Right? A person is obligated. להשתדל. להשתדל is an interesting word. In modern Hebrew, the word lobby, a political lobby, is a shdulah. It comes from the same word, and it's to make an effort. So a person is obligated to make an effort in this meaning to try to have children. Mi shehu ra'ui la. Mi shehu, we're used to being someone. We hear the word mishehu, we think, oh, that's someone, right? That's true, but it's also who can be it. And me can mean when. So mishehu means the moment at which. In this case, mishehu without an aleph at the end in modern Hebrew means someone, right? But here, mishehu is actually a contraction. It's me, the word me, mem yud. No, excuse me. It's not. That's modern Hebrew. It's a contraction. In this case, it's me from the time.
It's prepositions.
Yeah, it's a preposition. It's not a contraction. So mishehu ra'ui, when he's suitable, when he's fit to do the mitzvah, what does that mean? So again, this is just a reference to other sources here. When is the right time for this mitzvah? When you're fit for it. When are you fit for it? The Chachamim said when you're fit for it. He doesn't even spell out what that time is. Chachamim said,
What's Lisa?
Lisa is a, in modern Hebrew we say laset. this is in not only modern Hebrew, in biblical Hebrew too. Last set. Here it's lisa, which is a rabbinical form, and that means to marry, to wed. The word nisuin, right? That's nisuin. That is marriage.
Yeah.
So, dam nosei isha. Only men can do this. Not in Hebrew, you can say a woman is niset in the passive, but she can never be active. It doesn't make grammatical sense. But nowadays people just say likhaten, to get married, rather than to take a wife.
Do you think that the Sin Aleph in Lisa is related to the Aleph Shin of Isha?
Not on the surface, not in any nigla fashion. It's yeah.
Well, there you've got Isha there in your Lisha, and you've got Ashet.
Yeah. You
I'm
don't.
just trying to find
It's
you.
not. The letters are reversed.
I know, it's a reverse.
Yeah,
and
it
you've got
doesn't-
Ashet. You can play with it.
It doesn't really work.
And if you spell it backwards, it's Eshem, which is a type of tree. It doesn't really connect.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only so far you can go. So he doesn't even get into what that means, because in the Gemara there are all sorts of different takes on it. So it's not, again, we're not going to get into all the details of of every mitzvah. Here we're here to understand the broader concept. So this is a continuation of the conditions, the time, place, and persona, who the mitzvah applies to. Einam mutelet is not mutelet here. I would say obligatory. Like in modern Hebrew, you say matalot are tasks or chores. So women are not obligated. Vam mevatla bitelasei. Someone who disregards it. Bitelasei, he lost that mitzvah, right? Bitel, you lose, you're canceling out, the mitzvah. You lost the mitzvah. ועונשו גדול מאוד שמראה עצמו שאינו רוצה להשלים חפץ השם ליישב עולמו. Right? If somebody doesn't care at the mitzvah, then they have great punishment. What does great punishment mean? I don't know. But it's right? A person shows that they are not interested in completing Hashem's desire.
Men specifically.
Yes, we said that women are exempt.
Men only.
Right.
Yeah, so men.
Yeah.
Men now.
If a woman decides not to have children by choice, she's not
On the Deoraita. This is only talking about Deoraita.
Right.
So there are many layers of Yiddishkeit. Judaism is not the Torah, the written Torah. It's not the Tanakh.
It's written and oral.
It's hundreds of generations of evolution of our relationship with Hashem, and we have a living record of it. But that's not where this is where it starts, but not where it ends, right?
Okay.
So this is just interested. This book is only occupied with the specifics of the Torah mitzvah, and that's probably one of the reasons why he doesn't get into it so much, because a lot of the details that are in the Gemara are not actually Doraita, they're more Derabanan. Okay, so we finished the first mitzvah.
And in fact, you said, it's 10 o'clock. You've got about 35 seconds.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so
Just
we're gonna,
empty.
as far as we're going here, we're gonna stop here. 1 down, 612 to go.
Woohoo!
We're not gonna do every one of them word by word. Some of them are like that you shouldn't put the korban olah in this corner of the mizbeach. Like things like that are very kind of niche, and they don't have broader concepts that we can apply other places.
Also,
so we're gonna
arayot.
skim or skip those.
Also, arayot, like who you can and can't marry.
Right, each one of those is a separate mitzvah,
Right.
right? And they just repeat over and over, right?
Are we just using this as a method to learn the Hebrew?
We're using this as a method to learn Hebrew and concepts, okay?
Right. But
So
not per se to learn the
We're-
mitzvahs to know.
we're also
how-
learning, that's the
the
concepts.
side benefit.
No,
that's
that's part
the
of the
concept.
concepts. First, we need to understand what the Torah level is, and then we can build on it, right? So some of the concepts that we learned today, besides for all the Hebrew lessons that we're going to have dispersed throughout our learning, what did we learn today? We learned that every mitzvah has time, place, and persona. It has these three axes where we could chart on a graph each mitzvah if we had 3 dimensions. Every mitzvah where it apply, who, where, when, and to whom most mitzvahs apply, etc. We learned about, we started learning about concepts of some of the layers of both of Hebrew and of halacha. What else did we also look into? Yeah. Are there any questions? Are there any suggestions? Changing the format. Was this okay? It was a little dry, but
Awesome.
it's kind of like a mishmash of all sorts of things, so it's not so dry, right?
The only thing I would change very slightly format maybe, you're going quite fast in translation and reading, which is fine, but actually, I'm now, towards the end I was looking at the English, because I couldn't keep up with your reading the Hebrew and try in my head translate and get to English.
Mm-hmm.
So just, my suggestion is either slow it down maybe, or maybe we take turns even try and read a bit and translate a bit, just to, maybe we try it out, just to start, maybe we're too soon, but applying, see how I can get, you start playing words, to your point, you don't translate every word, you translate I say in modern Hebrew as well. My wife reads and she'll read a book and she'll read every word and translate it, and rather than reading a sentence and then making sense of the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my only.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe next time we'll try
Yeah.
letting other people read. Let's talk about reading assignments. So again,
You're going to send some suggestions on WhatsApp.
I will send suggestions on WhatsApp. I think it's very, very important to spend the time. Find one of these books, which one makes sense to you, whatever, the one you feel like picking up. Keep notes of the words that you didn't get or that you think you got, you're not sure, whatever. We'll go over it. If it seems like it's going to be too much, start sending it on the group. I'll start going through them during the week. And also help me to understand like what aspects of linguistics, grammar, etc. that we need to work on. So that would help me too. And
Thank you.
I think that's
Thank you
all.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait.
Great, awesome. Thank y'all for coming.
Of course.
So great.
I had a question on only one word.
Yeah.
So the Shevet,
Right.
I see the word tribe, right? Is that because they're
No,
they
that's a
sit
different
in-
word. That's a
That's
different word.
different word?
Different word.
Is it
That's
spelled
text.
differently?
Shivat, a tribe, is like the word
Ah.
Shvat. It's like the month that we're in now, Shvat.
Shvat,
This
okay.
is La Shevet. Right?
And then I also see the word Shabbat. Is that part
Yeah,
of
so
this?
Shabbat is related because Shabbat is the same word as Shavat, right? And Shavat,
It's 7?
no,
Sheva.
that's Sheva, not necessarily related. Shavat means to cease.
Ah,
Shvita, when people
Right.
go on strike, they say
Right.
Shvita, right?
right.
That means to cease, and Lashevet is to sit or to be settled.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the same word. This is shorish yud shin bet. This shorish is shen bet taf. It's not the same verb.
It's not the same.
It's not the same verb. However, there is a theory that has a lot of evidence to support it, that Hebrew is actually based on 2-letter roots, and then they get expanded to 3 letters.
Mm-hmm.
And here we see a lot of similarity between the meanings here, and you see they have 2 letters in common. The letters have to be in the same order, and usually the 2 letters are the beginning of the root, and then there's a 3rd letter added on, but also sometimes it goes this way, where there's a letter added. So, yes, there's a connection.
Alright. Yeah,
We'll probably get back to that theory some other time.
next time. Good, thank you.